KXLY News Center in downtown Spokane. This is KXLY 4 News at 6, working for you.
Well, our community comes together tonight in immense grief, following a nightmare we won't ever truly wake up from. Tonight, we remember a young life lost as the Freeman community tries to move forward without one of their own.
None of this is going to make any sense because you can't make any sense of the senseless.
And one day later, we now know names and ages, and we even know the claimed motivation behind yesterday's horrific attack. But we may never truly understand what compelled a young man to take an assault rifle and a handgun to school and open fire on his own peers. Good evening. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Nadine Woodward. This is Sam Strahan. He was a sophomore at Freeman High School. He courageously confronted the shooter yesterday and lost his life, trying to stop a mistake, trying to stop a tragedy, and trying to stop hate. Tonight, his family is grieving the loss of a beloved son and a brother just months after losing Sam's dad this summer. We have in-depth coverage for you tonight, trying to answer questions for you and also sharing how this community is coming together following all this heartbreak. We begin with KXLY 4's Caroline Flynn. She is live with the details of yesterday's events that might be hard for some to hear, so a warning tonight. Caroline?
Nadine, one of the biggest things we learned from court documents today is that 15-year-old Caleb Sharp did not target anyone specifically yesterday. He told investigators that he had come to school to teach everyone a lesson of what happens when you bully others.
Freeman High School.
What you are hearing are the first calls from dispatch to get help to Freeman High School.
The shooter may be on the second level. Suspect in his teens, 5'7", 160, glasses, jeans.
5 minutes later, officers had reached a detained Caleb Sharp. 5 minutes. What could you do in 5 minutes? Eat a meal? Drive to the store? Tell someone how much you love them? What would you do? Freeman High Schooler Jaden Wallet would go back and question his friend just a little bit more.
I saw him walk up the stairs and I asked him what was in his duffel bag. You know, what's in your duffel bag? He didn't say anything. Court documents reveal after Sharp went up those stairs, he began to load his assault rifle, which jammed. At that time, fellow student Sam Strahan bravely approached Sharp and said, "I always knew you were going to shoot up the school." Sharp then pulled a handgun from his coat and shot Strahan twice, killing him.
He then indiscriminately started firing, striking 3 other classmates, who thankfully are now recovering in the hospital.
Freeman High School janitor Joe Bowen saw an opportunity when the pistol jammed and ordered Caleb to lay down on the floor until deputies arrived. We now know that the 15-year-old was in the care of school counselors for suicidal ideations. He proudly bragged to friends that he owned pistols and made explosives. He told officers he had got the guns from his father's gun safe, and his dad admitted he had the combination. What we don't know is how bad those 5 minutes would have been if that gun hadn't jammed, if the janitor hadn't stepped in and stopped him. It was in just 4.5 minutes that 27 lives were lost at Sandy Hook Elementary School. Now, Sharp was supposed to appear in court today, but because of a motion filed to try him as an adult, that court appearance has been postponed to September 26th. He's currently being held at the Spokane County Juvenile Detention Center on 1 count of first-degree murder and 3 counts of attempted first-degree murder. Live from the Spokane County Courthouse, Caroline Flynn, KXLY 4 News.
Thank you, Caroline. Well, today we remember the victims of yesterday's shooting. 1 was killed. 3 more are recovering tonight at Sacred Heart Medical Center. And our Kyle Simchuk joins us now. Kyle, how are they doing?
Well, Nadine, all 3 remain in stable condition. The families have asked for privacy during this difficult time, and so we're not naming the 3 teens. However, we did speak to a pastor who has close ties with 2 of them.
The families are being well loved and cared for. They're in great conditions, very stable.
Yesterday's shooting hit close to home for members of the Valley Real Life Church.
Our congregation has rallied, for these families.
2 of the 3 victims recovering belong to Dave Christensen's congregation.
We were able to go up and visit both, several of the families there and be able to pray with them.
Last night, the church held a prayer service. It was a chance for people to talk as they begin to heal and grieve.
We have a lot of Freeman families that come here, and so that becomes even more crucial for us to be able to respond to needs now and moving forward, and that is something that we really strive to do.
Healing will take time and love. Yesterday's shooting injured 3 and took the life of Sam Strahan, who was being remembered as a hero for confronting the shooter. Sam's death marks the 2nd tragedy in recent months for his family. In June, Sam's father suddenly passed away. A GoFundMe account for the family has raised more than $40,000, $15,000 just yesterday.
We are all about Freeman strong, wearing the blue for Freeman today.
And this afternoon, the families of those 3 victims released a statement saying in part, quote, "In this darkest hour, we feel blessed and lucky in so many ways. Our daughters are recovering from their wounds, and we know that your thoughts and prayers are with us." They went on to say, quote, "Our hearts are breaking for another family in our community who lost their son. We are keeping Sam's family in our thoughts and prayers." Now, the church is hosting another service. It's actually beginning right now. Reporting live in studio, I'm Kyle Simchuk, KXLY 4 News.
Thank you, Kyle. At a news conference earlier today, Spokane Sheriff Ozzie Knezevich updated the ongoing investigation and also shared his own thoughts on what he says is a culture of violence that makes senseless violence a norm. KXLY4's Caroline Rourke was at that news conference today, and Caroline, the sheriff, also had some strong words for politicians and the media.
He did, Nadine. Now, this, of course, is not the first time that we've heard Sheriff Knezevich speak candidly about issues that he feels strongly about, including violence and mental health in this country. But with an incident that now so closely involves this community, including his deputies and fellow law enforcement members, his tone and call for change was the same, if not more urgent.
Folks, you're going to find that I am very much not politically correct, and the older I get, the less my filter works.
Spokane County Sheriff Ozzie Knezevich addressed the details of this case available so far, but he also expressed his own thoughts.
This is a situation that plays out in our society way too often. And we as a society need to make a determination as to what's causing this.
He described the toll an event like this takes on first responders and law enforcement, charged with the unimaginable duty of telling a parent their child won't be coming home.
Because there's nothing like that scream. You will never forget it. I've heard it one too many times.
Some of his questions are the same many have and will continue to ask as this story develops.
Where did we really go sideways in raising our kids? Perhaps we taught them to glorify the wrong things.
Violence in popular culture and mental health among his topics of discussion. The sheriff was specific in not assigning blame to local mental health resources or schools. He did have strong words for media and elected officials.
Because this young gentleman got sucked into a counterculture of violence. A culture that is enamored with school shooting. And media, you are to blame for that. To those in the political world, knock it off. Enough.
The sheriff did not offer specifics on how to change the culture of violence he described, but he did extend a call of action to everyone.
It is time for each and every one of us to say no more to the hate that we see, to the violence that we see. We deserve, as a society, and quite frankly, our kids deserve much better than we have given them.
The sheriff did emphasize at that press conference today that this is an ongoing investigation. They are still looking for more information and they need your help. If you have not spoken to a deputy or an investigator yet and you do have information about what happened at Freeman High School, you're asked to contact them at the email you should see on your screen there. That's freeman@spokanesheriff.org. Again, freeman@spokanesheriff.org. Reporting from the Spokane County Courthouse, Caroline Rourke, KXLY 4 News.
Thank you, Caroline. Well, through these tragic circumstances, the community is coming together.
My heart's breaking for those families, all of them. And every child that was around there, it's tough.
How businesses and organizations are reaching out to show their support. And tonight we're also left with the question, how do we prepare for something like this? That's the story our Ariana Lake is working on. Ariana?
Specialists say it may be hard to do, but asking those what-if questions before you're faced with a dangerous situation could save your life. I'll explain more coming up.